Imagine walking into a high-stakes global meeting, but instead of asking for help, you're walking in with your debts cleared and your credit score looking better than ever. That's a surprising new reality for several African nations heading into the 2026 IMF and World Bank meetings. But here's the real question. Can they turn this financial fresh start into an actual long-term strategy for growth? Okay, let's really get into this. To understand the opportunity here, you've got to see just how much the ground has shifted. We're talking about some major wins that are completely rewriting the story of Africa's finances. So, get this. In 2026, something happened that made one African nation totally unique. I mean, it holds a distinction that no other country on the entire planet has. Any ideas? That's right, it's Mozambique, a country that was, for a long time, kind of defined by its aid dependency, has now completely paid off its $701 million debt to the IMF. This is a huge deal. It fundamentally changes the entire conversation and its relationship with the global financial system.
And you know what's really interesting? Mozambique isn't some outlier. This is happening across the continent. You've got Nigeria paying back a massive $3.4 billion loan. Namibia retired a huge international bond. And South Africa? It just got its first sovereign credit rating upgrade in almost 20 years. These aren't just numbers on a page. They are powerful signals that things are changing.
With all this incredible news, it's so easy to think, okay, great, the hard part's over. A clean slate, better ratings, problem solved, right? But is paying off old debts really the same as building a new future? Or is this just the calm before a different kind of storm? And that brings us right to the heart of it. The real danger here is confusing these big symbolic victories with the actual end goal. They're not. They are just the starting line, because symbolism, as great as it feels, is not a strategy.
Here's the best way to think about it. Paying down debt, that's like finally paying off your credit card. It's absolutely essential, it feels fantastic, and it definitely restores your financial credibility. But here's the thing. If your house has a leaky roof, paying off your Visa bill does absolutely nothing to stop the rain from pouring in. Fixing the roof, that requires a totally different set of tools and a real forward-looking plan. That's the difference we're talking about, a milestone versus a mandate. So if paying off the credit card is just step one, what about that leaky roof? Let's take a closer look at these big structural problems that a clean balance sheet on its own just can't fix.
All right, I want you to look at this number, 12%. Any guesses what this represents? It's not an interest rate. It's not a tax, exactly. But it acts just like one, putting the brakes on the entire continent's economy every single day. That 12%, that's the average cost of logistics in Africa. Now compare that to the global average of just 8%. That 4-point gap is essentially an invisible tax slapped on every single product that crosses a border. It makes everything more expensive and drags the whole system down. Another huge leak is something the IMF is calling economic fragmentation. The simple way to think about it is this. When the world's major economic powers get into trade wars, it's like they're building walls around themselves. And for a continent like Africa that relies on exporting its resources and building up manufacturing, those walls are a direct threat. They choke off customers and they break the very supply chains that are so vital for growth. Now, you might see a headline number like the World Bank's projected GDP growth of 4.1% and think, hey, that sounds pretty good. But that number is, as one source put it, both reassuring and deceptive. It hides a massive divide between the countries that are actually booming and others that are getting left behind. All growth is not created equal. And here's our really key insight from an IMF expert. He says the problem for most of these countries isn't that they're broke, that's a solvency crisis. It's that they have a cash flow problem, a liquidity problem. Think about it like this. You own a valuable house, so you're not broke, but you don't have enough cash in the bank to pay the electric bill this month. That's a totally different problem, and it requires a much less drastic solution. This distinction is absolutely critical. Okay, so we've diagnosed the leaks in the roof. The big question now is, how do you fix it? Well, let's look at the actionable game plan that could turn this moment of financial credibility into real, lasting change. The analysis really boils it down to a clear 3-point playbook. First, go all in on free trade by actually investing in the roads, the ports, the infrastructure to make the African Continental Free Trade Area a reality. Second, push for a new IMF tool that's built for those short-term cash flow problems, not for full-blown meltdowns. And third, and this is a big one, Get ahead of the curve with a unified strategy on AI so Africa can be a creator in this new economy, not just a consumer. And that's really what this all comes down to. The ultimate goal here is to shift from a posture of just responding to crises and reacting to what the rest of the world is doing to actively shaping the agenda. It's the difference between being a passenger in the global economy and actually being one of the pilots. It's about gaining real strategic agency.
So we're left with this final, really powerful question. Africa's balance sheet looks stronger than it has in years, no doubt. But has its strategic posture, its ability to set its own course and build its own future, improved right along with it? That, right there, is the real test.